to all of you listening out there. This is Skymmilk, and welcome to the Just Skimming the Surface podcast. Today we actually have our first guest for the first new reiteration of Just Skimming the Surface. We've got Curtis here. How do you pronounce your last name again?
Koch.
Yes. Okay, because I know...
We've been friends for how long and you can't get my name?
I always just call you Curtis. I'm not going to be like, yeah, my friend Curtis Koch. Like, some people pronounce it Cook.
I know.
It's a weird spelling.
Koch.
Coach.
Cock.
Yeah. if they really don't like you.
If they really don't like me. But then I just respond, it's because mine's bigger than yours, and then they shut up.
It's actually a good comeback. Curtis here, him and I met through Columbia College in Chicago. We were both radio majors.
That is true.
Yeah, our first class was with good old Nancy. Voice and articulation.
That was a class. That was a fun class. I look back on it now, and I realize just like how that class like set up mine, since I still go to Columbia, my social group now. Because half the kids that were in that class, everybody was exactly
TA and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That was 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fall 2015.
Yes,
Voice
sir.
and articulation. #fam. But yeah, we met. It was you, me, Iridian, Angel were on that class.
They're the leftover girls. Remember?
Yeah, the leftover.
Because remember, we're the main course
men. We never did fulfill did we?
No.
You went and did your leather and laces, and now I'm just skimming the surface.
Yeah. We went our own separate ways.
Separate ways, worlds apart, journey.
Something like that.
So that was, that's like a year and...
That's almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago this fall.
Year and a half almost, right?
Yeah, about a year and a half. 2 years this fall.
Crap. It doesn't feel like it was that long.
No, it doesn't at all. It's insane.
I mean, still, we haven't seen each other since the most recent time was... that was October, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. Because when we saw a movie, what movie did we see? We saw a movie. I remember that. It was that $5 Tuesdays thing.
Yeah, the best thing ever. $5 Tuesdays, Regal Cinemas. Not sponsored, but still.
It's still a good thing to do. Free thing of popcorn. And that's when I met all your other friends. I met Ben.
Yeah, that's when
I met Ramis. I met Nick. I met a bunch of other people, too, that you were
because B-dubs.
Yeah, B-dubs.
But you came again after that. Remember,
I did.
You came and visited when we were in the townhouse. Because that was before we moved into the townhouse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, almost right before. So
I'd come here from my internship.
Yeah, it must have been like July or June.
Probably August or something like that, too.
Yeah, because that was because in spring semester at Columbia, we didn't have any classes.
No, we didn't either.
It was upsetting. But we still did bagels.
We did. We did bagels in the morning. That was fun.
Morning
at Panera.
bagels. Sweet bags.
I just watched a video the other day, or actually this morning, about this guy going on a bagel quest in the city of New York. Yeah.
All right.
And he's in a wheelchair. And so he's trying to get to where they sell... Have you seen the rainbow bagels?
Oh, yeah. I've seen
them. So
he's
he's trying to get to that store to get a rainbow bagel, but he's struggling because not all the areas in the city of New York are handicap accessible.
Yeah, true.
So he's going around 6 blocks looking for an elevator to the subway. Finally gets on the subway, he gets off, and he actually can't get into the store because there's no ramps. It's all steps. And so he also, the other part of the mission, I have to get this rainbow bagel for my friend Judd that I met at the hotel, which is the bellman at the front. And so he was supposed to get there by 3, and he ends up being late, and he misses Judd. He's like, oh, that's all right. I don't know the guy that well anyways, and he just takes a bite out of the bagel that he got for him. It's a really funny video. I'll have to share it with you.
It's pretty fun. I mean, I can't even count how many minutes I've spent watching Facebook videos. How much of my day.
I spend a lot more time on YouTube nowadays.
YouTube, yeah.
I found myself lately, my habit before I go to bed is I'll have my laptop on my bed, and I'll be laying in bed, and I'll be watching YouTube videos, and I'll keep clicking, and next thing you know, it's 11:30, 12 o'clock. I'm like, shit, turn it off, put it off.
Sometimes you get real deep into the YouTube thing, too.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. When you're, watching random YouTube videos, just clicking next, sometimes you'll get into the important videos.
Yeah,
that's all the fun.
Or you'll see, recommended for you, and it's oh, okay, I haven't seen that one before. Click, and you keep doing it, and the next thing you know, it's I'm 6 videos past where I'm supposed to be saying I was going to go to bed.
10th time watching Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Yeah, or whatever.
I always watch, I know my daily routine is the news with Philip DeFranco.
Yeah.
And then all sorts of video game review stuff and Let's Plays and stuff that I watch. I mean,
I haven't watched Let's Plays lately. I've watched Philip DeFranco, like you said. I found myself watching more individual YouTubers. A couple of my favorites are Mr. Sark. Just his kind of dark humor is, I think, really hilarious.
I think I've heard of him.
He plays with like C-Nanners and Chilled Chaos and
C-Nanners.
Those guys. Yeah. I watch C-Nanners every once in a while, not as much as I used to. I really like Mr. Stark. I wish he'd put out more videos, but he's busy with his family and everything, so I understand that.
Was Mr. Stark, was he the one who was on Rooster Teeth and stuff, right?
He was on Machinima with Respawn.
That's what it was.
He was with Respawn. He did it with like APL Fisher and Hutch.
Yeah, and then he got off of Machinima.
Yeah.
Started doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of YouTubers started out
I think Z. Do you know who Z Royal King is? He plays with Chilled Chaos. I think he's one of the more recent guys that's gone to Machinima.
Oh, really?
And I don't know what he's doing or if it's worked out for him, but
yeah, usually I focus on I watch Game Grumps, then I'm subscribed to Jacksepticeye and Markiplier and stuff, but I don't watch all their videos.
Yeah.
If it's something that looks like it's gonna be good for me that I want to see, sure, I'll watch it.
The thing I get annoyed with, like, the Jacksepticeyes and Markiplier is, like, the stereotypical video of those guys is kind of the same after a while.
Yeah.
And you find that the same thing with, especially Jacksepticeye, who seemingly kind of posts
He always just yells
Happy Wheels, and he's always
Happy
screaming,
Wheels.
and it's like, all right, I can... At least with, like, when I go to, like, watch Mr.
Some
Sark.
of the stuff they say is funny, but it's just...
Oh, it is, yeah. Like, but see,
sometimes.
with like Mr. Sark, and I'll have to show you a video of his that I like that you'd probably would get a kick out of. He does something. He at least posts a different game a different week.
Yeah, he does,
and he kind of mixes it up. And he's one of those people that plays a lot of Gary's Mod. He's part of those group of people that plays a lot of that.
You can do a lot in that game.
You can. Don't get me wrong. But after a while, it's like, why don't you guys play like We're Done or
Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, or something like that. Or Rocket League or something like that. Nanner's played a little bit of Rocket League, and I watched his videos. Sark hasn't played Rocket League.
Minecraft.
Minecraft I don't watch much anymore, because I'd rather play Minecraft than watch somebody play Minecraft.
I just started playing it a couple months ago. And, like in January, I want to say.
Yeah.
Because one of my friends, Caleb in Springfield, he got me into the game, and I was playing with him and his friends. And like I never was that into Minecraft, but eventually the longer you play it, like the more you get into it. You're like,
I like being creative with
it. I gotta do that. Yeah.
What I like doing is I like building really kind of unique houses for my character, and then eventually, you can build up enough common materials and stuff to go out and go shopping.
I'm not good enough to make anything like that.
But it's funny because I once made a giant castle, and I had it set up where it was like probably 64 blocks by 64 blocks, so a square.
Jeez.
And I had it pretty tall. I don't remember how tall it was exactly. I would probably guess maybe 40 blocks tall. And on top of that, I had each tower. I had a tower on each corner of this, like a square. If you picture a square.
So you had like an actual like.
And then and then on the inside I had like a building for like all my farming stuff.
Wow.
I had an entrance to my mine. I had a mine cart like station where like if people wanted to come visit, they'd ride the mine cart into my castle and then it'd pop up right there. I had it set up to where I had the doors. You'd step on a plate and the doors would open up. But that would be kind of a pain because at night when the creepers and stuff are like right outside the door and you like. I have to go outside, but I can't do it. You'd have to go up to the top of one of the towers and jump off the top of the tower to get around. I also have made lighthouses before. That's pretty cool. Those take a lot of time. I like building castles more. Yeah. Castles are by far. And I also made one that was like just a regular like rectangle house. But then I was like, you know what? I don't go for the stars. So I literally just made a tower. And I probably had to guess probably 300 blocks tall. Like I was above the clouds. Like literally the clouds would go through like halfway through my tower and just like look down and it's like all right, if I can jump into the water, that'd be perfect. Yeah. But I can't make it into the water.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've made, let's see, like nothing. I once set an entire village on fire once.
Have you ever played Hexit, or not Hexit? What's it called? Volts. You played Volts?
No.
It's the nuclear version of Minecraft.
So it's kind of like Fallout and Minecraft?
Kind of, but you can make nuclear missiles and stuff like that. And you can launch them, and there's like different types of missiles.
Sort of
so
there.
My friends and I have done it before where we go, if we get a bunch of people together. So if we can get like 20 people together, we do 4 teams of 5.
20 people?
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't even have that many friends.
Here's what we do. We start up with like at spawn, we make a base. And at each base, we give each team the same basic material. So everybody gets, so every person, a member of the team gets a wooden pickaxe, a wooden shovel, wooden, like all the tools, wooden armor, everything. And basically what they do is once we get all like the basic materials together, you and your team can go out any direction you want, but it has to be within, I think, a 3,000 block radius from spawn. We usually come up with the rules when we are deciding about it.
Oh, okay. So it's just your set rules, not the game set
Yeah,
rules?
it's our set rules.
Oh, okay.
And this isn't like how Volts... You can play Volts like how you'd play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Just casually with friends. But we do this where we find it more fun. Where we split up into teams. We go off throughout the world and stuff. We build an underground base. And we just start mining right away. And making food and that sort of stuff. And the goal is if you can find the other team... wherever they may be, you can launch a missile and destroy their base. And the goal is to collect heads, because in Volts, if you kill somebody or kill a creature or whatever, you get their head appears after you kill them.
Oh, that's messed up.
So you collect it, and you can just like put it on the wall, and whoever collects the most... It's a lot of fun. Next time we play, Wes, I'm going to get you involved in that, because it's a lot of fun, but you have to get the extension.
Yeah, I can't wait to have a wall of heads.
No, but it's really fun, and you create like a bunch of missiles, and there's a lot more you can do with Volts, because you can actually create, it's like a camouflage, so you can put what looks like a normal block, but it's actually... like if you were to walk on top of it, you'd fall straight through, and you'd land. So what we've done before is we'll find out like a big pit area where we want to have our missiles launched, and we'll put like grass or whatever texture is at the top, or foliage is at the top, whatever. We'll put some trees around it or whatever, and then when we find somebody, we mark it, because you can put markers on the map, and boop, you can launch a rocket or missile or whatever and destroy all their stuff. I know. Boop, boop. 3, 2, 1, launches go, whatever. It's a lot of fun. Minecraft is one of those games where you can do so much with it. It's kind of same thing with Gary's Mod, I think, too.
Yeah, those kinds of games are always very fun. There's always something to do. And like I like that sometimes, but sometimes I just need a story in the game. And if the story is disappointing, then I will be upset with the entire game.
That's the recent game I've been really disappointed with. And I tried playing it again just recently. Was Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs.
The first one?
Just Watch Dogs, the one that was based in Chicago.
Watch_dogs?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I believe that game, first off, the driving physics in that game are awful.
Yeah.
Complete trash.
I'll agree with that.
The second thing, the story mode is a little confusing.
Yes.
Especially in the beginning. They don't really set like a ground... You can kind of get the gist of it, but like the overall ground rules of it just don't help with explaining it.
I only got so far in that game before I just stopped playing it.
I ended up just fooling around in the city.
Yeah, I was just running around trying to find all the different landmarks and being like, oh, I was there before.
Yeah.
I was trying to find Columbia for the longest time. I just couldn't find like the exact spot.
The other thing that also annoyed me is that their map of the city of Chicago is completely off.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Also
I was like, I can't find half the things that I know are
and
there.
when you look at it, they have like the loop pretty accurate, in like Millennium Park and all that sort of stuff pretty accurate, but they don't have any of the beaches. They don't have like Lakeshore Drive.
Really?
They don't have any other like iconic landmarks like associated with it.
They have the bean though, right?
But it's not mirror. It's
not. It's just a big old.
It's just a big old like
big bean,
plastic poly or whatever,
like a
bean.
bean.
Yeah,
sitting on the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing. And there's a lot of other buildings too that they didn't get in there, which was kind of, I don't know.
I mean,
that's disappointing.
You can't expect them to be
the
completely
the most accurate thing in that game was the train announcements on the subway. Like, this is such and such, or this is Howard.
They probably just use the same voice clips.
Probably,
or yeah. I mean, it's not that hard to get those, I'm sure.
Yeah, just stick a recorder up to the speaker where it's playing.
Something like that. Well, enough about video games.
I know.
We went off on tangent there, dang. So we're both radio guys.
Yes.
Well, you more so than I, obviously, since I don't go.
You're a voiceover person. It's kind of close to the same thing.
I guess so. I mean, I haven't done much with it yet, but with radio and such, you do sports announcing.
Yes.
And such, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you like.
I have a
big
show.
Sports guy.
Yeah, I have a show with my good friend Dylan Buckwhite's on Chicago's Underground, 88.1 FM, and that's. Sports is one of those things for me where I can talk for a lot of people can talk about politics for a long period of time. Sports is that for me. I can talk about it for a long period of time. And other things too, like video games. Like we just went on the tangent about video games. I can talk about that too for a long time. But sports is probably, I could talk like hours and hours about it and have like a conversation with somebody and not get so heated. Whereas like in politics, people would get probably pretty heated about things.
Yeah, because you have that podcast. You've got Leather and Laces now.
Yeah, and that's all about the Chicago Bears with my my friend Chris.
Just about Chicago Bears.
Yes.
And how many episodes are you on now? Like
there's
6?
Yeah, there's 6. We're still trying to work out on a 7th because with the season kind of coming around and the NFL draft and that sort of stuff. The difficult part is that I'm at school in Chicago and my co-host Chris is at school in Decatur. He goes to Millikan University.
Oh, yeah, Millikan.
So finding the time where in our schedules to both do it and at the same time find a mutual time where we can record and finding stuff we want to talk about. Finding stuff we can talk about is pretty simple with sports stuff, especially when you're talking about a specific thing like the Bears, because you can ask a question and you can kind of go back and forth on it.
I mean, I'm not a big sports guy, you know that. I mean, I only just started watching everything. Like, I watched last season the Cubs, which was amazing.
Yeah, that was very amazing.
I'm just now sort of getting into the whole sports scene. And it just amazes me that you guys were able to make 6 episodes. How long are your podcasts? Like an hour?
Or a little under. It depends. Sports is one of those things where you can talk about it, but the news has to be kind of relevant for it.
Yeah.
So what we've done before is we have found things where we can kind of make our own take on it and find questions and kind of things that are usually spurting around in the media with sports. But we have 6 episodes. If I were to give an average time range, they probably are about, on average, 37 minutes long, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes shorter.
Yeah.
I would say 37 minutes is about the average of where we are at.
Yeah. 30 minutes is like a good time for a podcast, I think, honestly.
Yeah, and the thing about it, too, is that we try to promote it or try to get people to interact with it on social media and that sort of thing, but sometimes when you're still trying to build an audience like we are, it's hard to get social media interaction, so it's more so just constantly sharing it out there and getting people to try to listen to it. But the thing is that with sports, you have that specific audience. Ours is specifically
just have a sports audience. You can't really reach out to people.
Yeah, but more specifically, it's Bears fans. You know what I mean?
Fans. So that's even more specific.
If somebody wasn't into football, they probably were not going to listen to it. So we have a very specific demographic of our audience that would probably listen to us. But the other thing is that you have to find a lot of topics that are relevant with it too. And in football, there's always something in football that you can kind of tie back into the Bears, but it at times becomes difficult, like especially during the off season when it's kind of a low point, especially like in January or actually not even January, more so like late February, early March. It's like there's nothing sometimes to talk about, and you're kind of struggling to find something. And then once something happens, whether it's big or small, you're like, oh, this happened. Okay, we got to talk about this for a while. And you're kind of trying to find different angles to look at it
as much as you can.
Exactly.
To actually be able to have episodes. Because like I was saying, I just found it surprising you guys were able to make so many episodes about just one team.
Yeah, what we were doing is we were doing it after we started late in the season when we decided we wanted to do it. So we were doing it after each regular season game. And after that, we were moving on and kind of focusing on playoffs and the Pro Bowl and that sort of stuff. And then we talked about the draft, because with the Bears, they were awful last year. Really bad.
I knew that. Watch sports.
With that being said, we were thinking about who are they going to draft with the third pick in the draft. That's the highest point the Bears have ever had, getting a draft pick so high. Who are realistic options and that sort of thing. And you can have a conversation on that. But again, it's based on, if you're a Bears fan and you're into it, you're going to like it. If you're not a Bears fan, you're probably going to be a little bit confused.
Yeah, because you're a sports broadcasting major, right?
I'm a radio major, but with a focus on sports.
Regular radio major, focus on sports. So what exactly do you want to do? Do you want to announce games? Do you want to be on?
I've done some play-by-play. One of the first stations I got to intern for before I went to Columbia was Huntley Community Radio, and so I've been doing the high school football games. Our station does that. That's 101.5 FM if you're in the Chicago area, but you have to be kind of up near the Huntley, Crystal Lake area to get it. It's a low-powered station, so at times it can be kind of hard to pick up. But I've done their football games, the playoff games, and stuff like that, and that's a lot of fun doing
you
play-by-play.
You had like a good inlet into that. Like, you have experience already, like a good amount of experience from that already, and you're not even finished with college yet.
No, and that's the other thing too. And the other thing is that I guess what my ultimate goal is to do is to come back to Chicago and talk sports, kind of on like ESPN 1000 or a 670 The Score, something like that, and get paid for it. That would be a lot of fun. The other thing too is that I would like to kind of go to different markets and see what I've done before. Like, I was in Milwaukee interning for 8 months, actually. I started in January a year ago, and I was interning for 105.7 FM The Fan, and I did it until the end of August, and I got to go to Brewers games and got to cover the team for that. Even when the Cubs were up there too, that was a big thrill. Joe Madden personally said that he liked my polo shirt that I wore that day, which was a thrill for me. And then walking around and getting to cover games is a lot of fun. But doing that, I realized that being a reporter is pretty cool too. You kind of are digging for the juicy info, so to speak. Yeah. So for that aspect, I don't know. I have a lot of things that I would like to do. Kind of going into sports, you can kind of, with the experience that you're getting, you can kind of pick and choose which kind of path you want to go down to. I would like to go have a talk show like I've done before at Huntley and on Chicago's Underground, and be back in the city doing that.
Just like a bigger name.
And a bigger name station, a bigger
instead
market
of
station.
WCRX, maybe like
ESPN.
ESPN,
exactly.
Stuff like that. Work with Pat Tomasulo.
Oh, Pat Tomasulo, let me tell you about him. He is hilarious. If you ever get the chance to watch the morning news in his sports section, I have spent a day literally going through Facebook videos of his that he's posted.
He's hilarious.
He is hilarious.
The WGN morning news team is the best news team I've ever seen.
Of course. And the thing is that if you were to put that onto radio, it wouldn't have the effect that it would, especially on television. Tomasulo, though, I didn't realize this. He does stand-up comedy.
Yeah, he does stand-up.
And I want to go one of these days out and see one of his shows, because that would be really fun to see.
We should definitely do that. He's hilarious. And, like, the news crew, they just have good chemistry, all of them together.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Like, if the sound ever cuts out, they're, like, writing
on the whiteboards. And then there's that other thing, too, is, remember, this was a while ago. There was a film crew filming a movie scene in the city, and it was a plane crash, and the news was like, we're reporting on a plane crash that happened on the west side, and roads are closed off, yada yada yada. And then all of a sudden you start hearing chuckling. It's like, oh wait, that's a movie that's being filmed. Oops. And they make careless mistakes like that. But it's fun. It's what makes that news kind of fun to watch, and it does make you, if you're one of those people that doesn't watch the news because it's too depressing. There are sad stories on their news, but it's the humor outside of it. Yeah, it's the humor outside of those stories, and when they're like interacting with each other, that really makes it fun to watch the news.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to watch the news because it's important to see what is happening in the world.
What's going on.
But that's where I go back to YouTube and I talk about Philip DeFranco.
He covers like all the important stories, but like I get all my news from Philip DeFranco and WGN in the morning.
WGN is good.
And what I see on Facebook, if I believe it or not.
Well, for me, I like to watch Philip DeFranco a lot because I truly believe that he is the only news source out there that is unbiased.
Oh, he's one of the best.
He gives both sides of the story to it. And then he adds his own personal opinion into it, which is nice. But then he's like, I want to know your opinion. And then when you go through the comments, you see people having discussions about topics that he's brought up and that sort of thing. And it can get pretty fun to watch. And he does include other little segments and stuff like that too that are fun to watch. But a lot of it is mainly just become news on his channel.
Yeah, shout out to Philip DeFranco. You know, if you want to be on the Just Skimming the Surface podcast, hit me up.
Oh, that'd be a cool guest to have on your podcast.
He was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I know that. He was on Joe Rogan.
He was also on H3H3 does a podcast now, and he was on that too. And I it'd be awesome to have someone like that on mine, but I mean, this is only the second season, and like I don't know if I'm gonna do seasons or if it's just gonna be like, hey, before it was like and now it's getting better, and I'm just gonna have like a continuous flow from now on. I'm not sure. Season 2 just might be infinite.
Were you uncomfortable doing a podcast at all?
I started off like it was right after my grandpa died.
Yeah.
And I was just more contemplating life and existentialism and mortality and all that dark, depressing crap.
Yeah.
And I had, 5 episodes. Well, it was a 6-episode season.
Yeah.
And 5 of them were all depressing and stuff, and one of them was me ranting about YouTube. Even though it doesn't really affect me as much as it affects other people, because, I mean, I only have like 20 subscribers on Skymmilk. And then I stopped doing West Play. So it's like, with only 20 subscribers, there's not a lot that YouTube can do that actually affects me, because it's not my job. I don't rely on it.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I will. That'd be fun. It sounds like a fun thing, but like I don't right now, so I just ranted about YouTube for no reason. It was basically me ranting in an empty room about YouTube that no one was listening because no one knows who I am yet, you know?
Yeah, and that's the one thing too is that I've really been trying to work on is building up a following.
Yes.
Especially on social media.
Well, you got that Facebook page now.
Yeah, I do have that Facebook page. It's Curtis Koch, Koch. You can go ahead and like it.
Yeah, I'll leave all the links in the description. You got your Facebook page.
Facebook, Twitter.
You got Twitter. You've got SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. I don't post much to SoundCloud anymore.
Yeah, but because
SoundCloud is now doing a thing where you have to pay.
Yeah,
for
I saw that.
So I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to leave what I have up there.
I originally started posting my podcast on SoundCloud, and then like after 3 episodes, I'd almost
Podbean is worth it. Podbean. You can see how many downloads you have, which I think the last time I checked, we had 6 downloads on Leather and Laces. But getting more specific, you can see the more you pay, essentially, the more analytics you get from it. So you can, and if you want to get like just the basic thing, I think it's like $12 for the year, if I'm not mistaken.
I just started posting it on my website.
Yeah, that too. But I think but Podbean is one of those.
And you have a website too, right?
I do have a website, and
I'll have to leave the link to that too.
Yeah, I have to update that too. I haven't updated a lot of my stuff. I was telling my parents this the other day. I have never been so busy in a school semester until this semester.
Yeah, because you've got a lot going on with the radio station, your classes.
Monday through Thursday I average waking up between 5 and 6:30 in the morning, depending on the day. For example, Mondays and Thursdays I wake up at 6:30. Tuesdays and Wednesdays I wake up at 5. And I have to catch the train to go downtown. Actually, Thursdays I don't even take the train anymore. I end up driving downtown to park to go to class because my class that I have that evening goes until 9:30.
And the train doesn't run out.
And the train, well, no, the next train is at 10:30. And if I were to take that train, I wouldn't get home because it's an hour and 20-minute train ride for me. I wouldn't get home until midnight.
Yeah.
And so for me, I can park right down the street from class, leave at 9:30.
Park in that $6 little place.
No, I don't.
Michigan? Oh,
I've seen it. I haven't parked there, though. It's not, but I've
$6.
I'll park there, and then once I'm done with class, I can hop in my car and drive home, and I'll get home by 10:30. So that for me is a lot more convenient than having to wait another hour.
I mean, the one of the big reasons why we connected in voice and articulation was because we were the two commuter students who
took Metro.
Took Metro from 40 minutes to an hour out of the city.
Metro is another story. I could go on a tangent about that too, but I'm not here to talk about Metro. But another thing too is that I've never been so busy. For example, Wednesdays. I wake up at 5 and I don't get home until 11.
Well, Wednesday is one of the days you have WCRX, right?
Yeah, Wednesdays I have my show on CRX from 7 to 9. I take an Uber to Ogilvy, hop on the 9:30 train, and then I haven't had George with a J yet. Or George with a J. Or you remember that? Yeah.
George with a J. Shout out to that Uber driver, let me tell you.
The jerk that drove past us, then went around the block, and then it was like, we canceled it.
We canceled it, and jeez, he drove right past us. He didn't even come back. He
went down towards Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, and then he just gave up, so I canceled it. I was like, get out of here.
And so anyway, didn't they want to charge you, though, for that? And you had to, argue with it?
I just had to file a dispute, and Uber's real good about that. They immediately refunded my money. I didn't even have to, complain or anything too much. I just had to be like, he didn't show up. Immediately refund. It was great.
That works out. But, yeah, commuting is by far stressful. Well, not stressful. It adds a sense of stress to it, but the train ride, you can get stuff done, which is nice.
Yeah, I would always do my homework on the train ride.
I usually try to get my homework done.
Or sleep.
Yeah, that too. Although I can't sleep leaving the city because the train that I take home, my stop isn't the last stop.
Oh, yeah.
So if I wake up and I'm past my stop, I'm in Harvard, which is 20 minutes from the Wisconsin border. And then Harvard itself
20 minutes from the Wisconsin border.
Not even.
I can walk to Wisconsin from my house right now.
But you're farther north. They're northwest, and so the road that you'd have to take probably would be another 20 minutes. But so then I'd have to take an Uber back to Crystal Lake, which sucks. So I usually on the morning trains, and I can sleep a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
But then I'm worried about people that are walking past me as I'm sitting there, and also I'm paranoid if I snore on the train.
I would always set an alarm for when the train is supposed to get to my stop, because the train never gets there on time. Never. It'll always be late.
Really? My trains are usually pretty good about being on time.
Early. I've always had it be a couple minutes late. I've never had it early.
Interesting. My train never usually gets there early either. If anything, it's either on time or it's a couple minutes late, and it's usually because they have to accommodate for the handicap passengers. Yeah. Which I can understand.
Damn handicaps. Just joking. I don't mean that. Don't take that out of context.
That's going to be a soundbite now.
Yeah, damn handicaps. All right, so you want to be a sports broadcaster. What exactly, what experience when you were younger made you decide that that's what you want to do?
I listened to a lot of baseball games. I played baseball until my sophomore year of high school.
Oh boy.
My senior year of high school. I played high school baseball for freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah, you look like you played baseball.
I did play baseball. But besides that, listening to the radio all the time, I didn't really get into sports radio as much. When I would listen to WGN, they would carry the Blackhawks games, and I would listen to John Weideman and Troy Murray. And then David Kaplan, who was one of my favorite sportscasters at the time, he had a show on WGN about sports and all that sort of stuff. And him and I mostly agreed on several things, but we didn't really disagree on anything either. And then just kind of focusing on when I started at Huntley Community Radio, my first year at community college, at McHenry County College. My professor was like, hey, I have an opportunity for an internship at a radio station. If any of you are interested, let me know. And so I was like, okay, well, I wasn't playing baseball anymore. I was still into sports, but I wasn't thinking of...
You just decided not to play it anymore and more to spectate it.
Yeah, I was a fan more specifically. But then once I took this internship at Huntley Community Radio, I really got into it. I was using Adobe Audition, which I liked a lot. I was using the soundboard, and I remember walking in there on like the interview day, and my classmate Greg, who also got the internship,
good old Greg,
he was telling me they have the cubes on the microphone. Like none of us have ever been into a radio studio before, and like ever seen like the cubes like you'd see on TV. You know what I'm talking about? Like it has like the station ID logo on it on the microphones, like when they're holding their microphone to the person.
It's got like ABC.
Or whatever.
ABC 7.
Exactly. So that was another thing that was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then two guys who were broadcasters at the station, Gary Kruer and Sam Giotti, were wanting to do a sports show. And they needed somebody to do the soundboard for them. And I said, I could do it.
Me.
And so
I got it.
I would talk sports with them, and it would be it was a good conversation. And eventually they're like, we should have Curtis join us. And I ended up doing the soundboard and hosting, and kind of they called me the captain of the ship because I was able to transition
all
between.
For free?
Yeah,
wow.
I was doing that all for free, and
it paid you an experience.
It paid me an experience, yeah. So then once I found out that this was cool and this was something I wanted to do and I was something passionate about, because for a long time I was passionate about baseball, and then once a couple of bad coaches kind of ruined it for me and everything like that. So then I was like, okay, this is something I want to focus on now, and decided to go that route. And sure enough, the experience on that. And then I was coming looking for a college to further specialize in radio stuff, because McHenry County College had nothing on that. They finally just got their associates. They accepted a program where you can get associates of journalism degree, which is really cool. I wish they had that when I was there. But they only had the science and associates of science and associates of, I think literature was the other one, if I remember correctly. But either way, so went there, got all my stuff done there, and was experiencing it and all that sort of thing. And then I decided to finally look for schools. And one of the guys who worked at Huntley Community Radio, his name was Jim Corello. He was actually the head tech director at WGN, and he actually has a star or something on the like WGN Walk of Fame, if you know where that's at. It's right next to their studios, off of Michigan Avenue, Michigan Avenue, and
right next to Tom Skilling and Larry Potash.
Yeah, and so I was talking to him about what schools are offer it, and he was giving me. He said, "Oh, you could go to University of South Dakota." And that's one of the other kids that was there. His name is Michael Guerin. He is now a television producer for the news station Kiloland News up there. And so he was getting a lot of TV side. He was like, I don't want to do TV. I want to do radio more specifically. And then he said, Columbia.
Well, you have a face for radio. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I've been told that a lot. Yeah, I've been told that a lot. And as I was sitting there and talking about schools, he said Columbia. And I was like, okay. I knew a couple people who went to Columbia. And I decided to, let me go visit the school before I applied to it. And my mom and dad went with me on a tour of it. And we went through the radio department, and I met Tom Joyce. And he gave me a private tour of the whole entire department and stuff like that. And I was like, this is, something I want to...
Actually, I still get emails from, like, Tom Joyce and stuff, like, for the school-wide, like, I'm your counselor, make sure to contact me. I'm like... I guess I don't
go there anymore.
I don't go there anymore.
But yeah, I went there, and I was like, this is the school I really want to go to. And I remember doing a cold read of a PSA, and they're just like, wow, that's really good. It was like my first take, and I read it, and I was really good, and they aired it. And I was like, okay, this is probably a school I really want to look into. And so sure enough, so I applied, I got in, and... I'll never forget how I found out I got in. My grandpa at the time was he was battling he was in hospice, and he was on the final stages of battling lung cancer. Yeah. And that's a whole other personal story that I won't get into because just for family reasons. But once I found out that how I got in, he was fast asleep. So I told my mom, and my mom told my grandpa, and my grandpa found out, and then the next day he passed. So he found out that I got into Columbia before before he passed, which I was really happy.
That's
that
awesome.
He heard it because he was wondering like, is he going to find out yet? You know, that sort of thing. Because I was waiting, and then finally once I got in, I was like, okay, I really got to focus on school now. And sure enough, took a lot of classes. I met you that first semester, and
that was
a lot
your
of
first
other friends
semester too, wasn't it?
Yeah, And sure enough, met a lot of great friends, a lot of great people, and the professors are amazing there, and come a long way since then. A really long way in those past 2 or 3 years that I've been finally accepted into Columbia.
Yeah.
And I love the school so much. There are some things that are annoying about it, as everything's not perfect, but
that's every school.
Yeah, exactly. But it's by far one of the best experiences that I've had regarding just educational purposes. Because I never had professors that were willing to really like influence you and persuade you, except for my one professor at McHenry County College who gave me the internship. Gotcha. Gwen Matthews, she was really inspirational and like pushed me to do stuff too. So getting that other stuff too is really helpful.
Yeah, like I'm in the theater in Antioch right now. With, they're doing Man of La Mancha, and I actually know someone in that theater who went to Columbia. He graduated and everything. And I was talking to him about Columbia one day, and we were like, Columbia is for the networking.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you can get a degree through that and everything, but when you're in this kind of business, an entertainment business, networking is the most important thing you can do.
Oh, of course. I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Totally agree with that. My resume and like connections that I made from like that first radio conference in the fall to now have grown substantially. My experience has grown and all that sort of stuff, and it's all through connections. And I have a lot of great recommendation. Well, I do have letters of recommendation, but I have a lot of great recommendations on my LinkedIn page now. One from my internship in Milwaukee, and a couple people from Huntley and that sort of thing, and Tom Joyce, of course, too. And it's been fun to see how just people, once you work with them and they're like, this kid's got the drive for it and everything like that. And then the thing is, too, is like if you put in the work and you have a good attitude, you're going to get noticed and you're going to get, recommended for a lot of things, too. And I don't think I think there's a lot of students at Columbia that aren't fully taking advantage of some of the services that the school has to offer, which is kind of a shame because either that or they're not taking it as seriously. They're kind of just expecting it to get their degree and get a job. And
that's not the way it works.
Yeah, you really have to work hard. If you're
an actor, if you want to be a radio host, if you want to direct, dance, make any sort of art,
there's a couple
you gotta actually put the work in.
There's a couple of students that I won't say their names, but they're at school and they kind of
they just breeze by, right?
Yeah, or I would say don't care or half-ass it.
Yeah.
They don't really show a lot of care about it, or when you like try to give them suggestions and stuff like that, they kind of just like, okay, cool, and then they don't do it. It's like, even if you want to help them get better, it's the person that has to enact on it. And I've realized that a lot, especially with shows and social media stuff, is like, if people are tuning in and listening, that's great. But if they're not tuning in and listening and they know that you're doing this sort of thing, why aren't they? Yeah. And a lot of time it's because they're choosing to not to. And if they're not supporting you or not doing that sort of thing, or not supporting what you're doing in general, like my friends support like what I'm doing and everything, but if they're not being the people that are fully supporting and like listening and giving suggestions and stuff, then it's kind of disappointing because then it's like, well, you say I'm doing a good job, but when was the last time you listened? You know what I mean? That's what's that can be disappointing about in this field. Is like people say that they support you and that you do a good job.
Oh, it's awesome. You're a good actor and stuff like that, but they only they can't go to your shows.
Exactly.
Like
it's the same thing.
It's disappointing at times, but it's just you got to realize other people got other things going on.
Well, of course, but then what really annoys me is when, for example, for your case, people say, oh yeah, I can't make it to your show, I'm sorry. But then you go check Snapchat or something and you see them out at like a bar or doing something else. It's like, really? You're probably spending twice as much money on drinks than you could be going to watch me and support me.
Yeah. And
kind of the same thing.
Yeah, the way that it's just like, if they don't go, but the people who do go, they're the ones that matter. You know?
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like this business is really for those who have the drive to do it and those who strive to be their best.
And I think that's with almost every business too. If you have people that are striving to get better and do the things, I think you see them succeed. But when you are watching or if you're observing people who are just kind of lollygagging and not sort of putting in the work as much as you are, then that gets annoying because then you're wondering how they have a job, but then you want to do better and that sort of thing. It just gets frustrating. You want to see people support you and stuff, but at the same time, if they don't, they don't. If they do, they do. But you appreciate the people who do.
Definitely. And I think with that, we're just skimming the surface on that topic.
Have we, though? I feel like we've gone more than just skimming the surface.
We've gone way deeper than just the surface. But, there's still a lot to be talked about on maybe a future episode and stuff. So if you want to come back, this
of course.
is a formal invitation.
I'm accepting this invitation that you're not nonchalantly handing me.
Definitely. I mean, with the heater turning on now, I don't think there's much else that we can talk about without that becoming a nuisance. So, it was great having you on.
Yeah,
Curtis.
thanks for having me.
Seeing you again.
You too.
It's been a while. And with that, we are just skimming the surface. Thanks for listening. Remember to like us on Facebook to stay updated on future episodes and to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Leave a like down below and let us know what you think in the comments. Also remember to follow us on Twitter at WSkymmilk and to check out our website as well, www.wskymmilk.com. This has been WSkymmilk. Have a great night and remember to tune in next time.